To me, February alludes to what is to come in the spring and gives fishermen the hope that the bass fishing is about to heat up. February is one of my favorite months to fish out of the whole year and can produce some giants if you know what lures to throw. Whenever it comes to selecting lures to use in February, it is important to remember how much changes throughout the month leading up to the spawn. It was difficult to select 5 lures to talk about today, but these 5 lures will work in many situations throughout the whole country. Let me know down below if you agree or disagree with my top 5 baits I chose for the month of February. I'm actually curious to see what you guys say. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button. We're on the way to 5K by the end of the year and it would mean a lot, and I would love to have you guys join the community. The first lure I want to talk about, and one of my favorite lures to throw in February, is the Lipless crankbait. The Lipless crankbait is one of the most versatile lures that you can use, especially with how everything is changing in the month of February. The Lipless crankbait is normally fished very slow in the winter time and can be fished throughout the whole water column. My favorite way I fish the Lipless crankbait is utilizing the yo-yo technique. The yo-yo technique is whenever you let your Lipless crankbait flutter down and then lift the Lipless crankbait back up. By repeating this process, you can get some good quality bites. The other way to fish the Lipless crankbait is to bump it across the bottom, working it as slow as possible. I normally like to fish the Lipless crankbait as slow as I can get away with. By slowing the Lipless crankbait down, you will catch some good quality bass in your local body of water. There's a secret to fishing a Lipless crankbait this time of year that will determine if you catch a lot of bass or get skunked. The trick is to add some rod tip movement whenever you are fishing the Lipless crankbait. Utilizing this will give your Lipless crankbait an erratic action whenever moving throughout the water column, causing your Lipless crankbait to speed up and slow down. This will cause a reaction strike, and I promise you will catch a lot more fish whenever you're fishing the Lipless, especially in the month of February. One of my favorite colors to throw hands down this time of year when using the Lipless crankbait is red. There's just something about throwing a red colored Lipless crankbait this time of year that catches giants. Bass will feed heavily on crawfish this time of year and is one of the best forages you can imitate when using a Lipless crankbait. I plan on doing a video talking more about why the color red is so effective this time of year, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. The second lure I'm going to talk about is the shallow crankbait. During the month of February, some bass will start pushing up shallow, and a shallow crankbait can be an effective way to target these bass. A shallow crankbait is one of my favorite search lures because of how much water you can cover whenever you are fishing it. Whenever the water temperature is colder, I like to use a flat-sided crankbait. Using a flat-sided crankbait will make the lure have a tighter wobble whenever it is moving throughout the water column. A flat-sided crankbait can entice the bass to bite whenever the water temperature is on the lower side. However, once the water temperature starts heating up, I will use a more traditional style of crankbait. A more traditional style crankbait will be more erratic because it is not flat on the sides and will move throughout the water column completely different compared to a flat-sided one. So it is important to know when to use the right one depending on your local water conditions. It really depends on what the water temperature is whenever you're fishing and what the bass are wanting for that day. One of my favorite colors, hands down again, is red because of how much the bass are feeding on crawfish this time of year. A shallow crankbait is one of my favorite ways to catch some bass, and you will have a blast throwing a shallow diving crankbait, I promise. The third lure I'm going to talk about is the Alabama rig. The Alabama rig is an effective way to catch bass in the month of February, especially when the bass are chasing up on bait fish. Many bass tournament organizations have banned the use of the Alabama rig because of how effective it is at catching fish. Also, some states have banned the use of the Alabama rig or limit how many hooks you can have, so make sure you check your local and state regulations before heading out on the water with an Alabama rig. The Alabama rig really shines in the colder water months and has the drawing power to entice a huge bass to bite it. The Alabama rig truly shines whenever there's clear water conditions, but also works well in stained water and muddy water. Many anglers will use the Alabama rig to catch their personal best bass all the way until the spawn. If you have not thrown an Alabama rig, you are truly missing out on one of the most effective ways to catch bass in the month of February. I plan on doing a a video talking about the Alabama rig more in detail here soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. The fourth lure I am going to talk about is the Ned rig. The Ned rig is one of the most productive lures you can use and excels in colder water temperatures or whenever the conditions are rough. I decided to pick the Ned rig because of how much changes over the month of February and how effective it is overall. Don't let the size of the Ned rig fool you. It will catch some giant bass, and you will catch a lot of bass at the same time. The Ned rig is one of the best finesse techniques you can use and can be pretty much used in any situation you can think of. My favorite way to fish a Ned rig in February is to bounce it off the bottom and give it longer pauses to entice the bass into striking it. Another way you can fish the Ned rig is dead sticking it. Dead sticking it can be an effective way when targeting lethargic bass by resembling how the forage moves in your local body of water in February, and also dead sticking it is one of the best ways to catch bass in current. The forage in your local body of water will not be moving as quickly in February because of their low metabolism. A good tip I could tell you when you're fishing the Ned rig is if you think you are fishing it slow enough, fish it even slower. However, whenever the water temperature starts to heat up, normally later on in February, you can fish the Ned rig even quicker because the forage will be more active. The Ned rig can resemble most forage in your local body of water. However, I love throwing either an orange or a red color elastic due to how heavy the bass feed on crawfish in February. You can also never go wrong with a green pumpkin due to how many different forages this will imitate. The fifth lure I'm going to talk about is the jerkbait. I had to include the jerkbait on the list, especially with how effective it is in colder water conditions. In early February, whenever the water temperature is low, you can fish the jerkbait with a longer pause. Some people will pause the jerkbait for 30 seconds or more, but most people will use a 10-second pause generally. However, once the water temperature heats up, you do not have to fish the jerkbait as slow. You can fish it quicker once the water temperature starts to heat up this month and potentially can land your next personal best bass. The jerkbait will trigger a reaction strike out of the bass even whenever they do not want to eat. This is achieved because of how the jerkbait resembles a dying bait fish and appears to be an easy meal to the bass. If you have not thrown a jerkbait, you are truly missing out on an effective way to catch bass whenever the water temperature is cold. My favorite jerkbait to use hands down is the Megabass Vision 110, especially with how it moves and pauses throughout the water column. If you have not tried a Megabass Vision 110 before and you've been on the fence about it, this is your sign to try it out. I promise you will not be disappointed. These are my top 5 lures to use in February, and these lures will help you catch more bass whenever you're fishing this month. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Also, let me know if you agree or disagree with my top 5 bass lures for the month of February. I'm actually curious to hear what you guys have to say. Also, let me know if I missed your favorite lure. It was very hard selecting this list. It's hard to narrow it down to 5. However, these 5 lures are gonna work in most scenarios across the country. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button to help the video in the YouTube algorithm so more people can get recommended this video. If you are not subscribed, I would love to have you join the channel. I plan on doing more videos like these in the future, releasing one of these every week or so, maybe 2 a week depending on the week. If you want to know a good technique that catches bass all year round, make sure you check out this video. I promise you will not be disappointed.